Hello, everyone. My name is Marco. Look at me. I am wearing a white chef jacket. I am standing in my beautiful restaurant. But my life was not always like this. I want to tell you my story. It is a story about hard work. I always loved food. When I was a little boy, I cooked with my grandmother. She taught me everything. She taught me how to make tomato sauce. She taught me how to make fresh pasta. I wanted to be a chef, but I had a big problem. I had no money. I could not go to a cooking school. Schools are very expensive. So I looked for a job. I went to a big, fancy restaurant in the city. I asked the owner for a job. He looked at me. He said, "Can you cook?" I said, "Yes, I can." He laughed. "No, you cannot cook here, but you can wash the dishes." So I took the job. I was a dishwasher. It was hard work. The water was hot. The soap hurt my hands. I stood on my feet for 10 hours every day. My back hurt. My legs hurt. But I did not quit. I washed every plate. I washed every fork. I made them shine. I knew this was only the beginning.
Every day I washed mountains of dirty dishes, but I did not just wash. I used my eyes. I watched. I watched the chefs. They were like artists. They moved very fast. Chop, chop, chop. They cut vegetables perfectly. They mixed sauces in big pots. The kitchen was full of amazing smells. It smelled like garlic, basil, and roasting meat. I wanted to be like them. One busy Saturday night, the kitchen was crazy. The head chef, Mr. Rossi, was shouting. He needed help. He looked at me. "Marco," he shouted, "come here." I ran to him. I wiped my wet hands on my apron. He said, "I need help. Peel these potatoes now." I was nervous. My hands were shaking, but I picked up the knife. I peeled the potatoes. 1, 2, 3. I was slow, but I was careful. Mr. Rossi looked at my work. He did not smile, but he nodded his head. "Good," he said. "Go back to the dishes." I was so happy. After that day, everything changed. During the day, I washed dishes, but at night, I went home and practiced. I bought a bag of onions. I went to my small kitchen. I cut onions for hours. I cut my fingers many times. It hurt, but I did not stop. I wanted to be fast. I wanted to be perfect. I practiced until I could cut an onion with my eyes closed.
Time passed. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I was not a dishwasher anymore. Mr. Rossi made me a cook. I was very happy, but I had a bigger dream. I wanted my own restaurant. To have a restaurant, you need money, a lot of money. So I made a plan. I worked very hard. I worked in the morning. I worked in the evening. I worked on weekends. I never took a holiday. My friends said, "Marco, come to the cinema with us." I said, "No, sorry. I have to work." My friends said, "Marco, let's go to a party tonight." I said, "No, sorry. I have to work." It was lonely. I did not buy new clothes. I did not buy a nice car. I wore my old shoes. I saved every dollar. In my bedroom, under my bed, I had an old shoebox. It was my bank. Every week, I took my salary and put it in the box. Sometimes I was very tired. My feet hurt. My back hurt. I wanted to stay in bed and sleep. But then I pulled out the box from under the bed. I opened the lid. I counted the money. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. The money grew slowly. It took a long time, but every dollar was a step closer to my dream.
Finally, after 5 years, my shoebox was full. I sat on my bed and counted the money. One last time. It was enough. Now I needed a building for my restaurant. I walked around the city. I looked at many places. First, I looked at a building in the city center. It was big. It had big glass windows. It was beautiful. I asked the owner, "How much is the rent?" He told me the price. It was very, very high. It was too expensive for me. I felt sad. I looked at another place. It was too small. The kitchen was tiny. I was worried. I thought, maybe I cannot do this. Maybe my money is not enough. Then one rainy afternoon, I saw it. It was a small building on a quiet street corner. It was not beautiful. Actually, it was ugly. The walls were gray and dirty. The windows were broken. There was dust everywhere. There were spider webs in the corners. It looked old and sad. The owner opened the door. It smelled like old paper and dust. He looked at me. He said, "Nobody wants this place. It is too much work." I stood in the middle of the dark room. I closed my eyes. I did not see the dirt. I did not see the broken windows.
I had the keys to my restaurant. But I had one more problem. I spent all my money to rent the building. I had zero money left to pay for construction workers. I looked at the dirty walls. I looked at my 2 hands. I said, "Okay, Marco, you must do this yourself." The hard work started. It was messy work. First, I cleaned. I swept the floor. There was so much dust. I scrubbed the windows with soap and water until they sparkled in the sun. Then I bought paint. I chose a warm, happy color. I chose yellow. I painted the walls. Brush, brush, brush. Up and down. Slowly, the dark, ugly room disappeared. Now it looked bright and sunny. I fixed the tables. They were old tables made of wood. I used sandpaper to make them smooth. I put varnish on them. They looked like new tables. I was not alone. My family came to help me. My mother sewed curtains for the windows. They were red and white. My brother helped me fix the lights. My father helped me in the kitchen. We cleaned the stove. We cleaned the oven. We worked for 2 months. We were tired, but we laughed a lot. We ate pizza on the floor in the middle of the paint cans. Finally, the work was finished. I stood in the room. The walls were yellow. The tables were shiny. There were flowers on every table. I went outside and hung a sign above the door. It said, "Marco's Kitchen." It was real. My dream was ready to open.
Tonight was the big night, the grand opening. I wore my best white chef's jacket. It was clean and ironed. I put on my tall white hat. I went into the kitchen. Everything was ready. The tomato sauce was bubbling on the stove. It smelled like my grandmother's kitchen. The water for the pasta was hot. I looked at the clock. It was 7 o'clock. I walked to the front door. My hand was shaking a little bit. I was very nervous. I thought, will people come? Maybe nobody will come. Maybe they will not like my food. I took a deep breath. In, out. I unlocked the door and turned on the open sign. I waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Then the door opened. Ding! A couple walked in, a man and a woman. They looked around. "It smells delicious in here," the woman said. I smiled. "Welcome to Marco's Kitchen," I said. "Please sit down." I went to the kitchen. I cooked their dinner. I made spaghetti with fresh tomato sauce and basil. I put the food on 2 white plates. I carried the plates to their table. I watched them. The man took his fork. He ate a mouthful of pasta. He chewed slowly. I held my breath. Then he smiled. A big, happy smile. "This is amazing," he said. "This is the best pasta in the city." I felt a warm feeling in my heart. My fear went away. More people came. Soon the restaurant was full. There was noise. There was laughter. There was the sound of forks on plates. Clink, clink. I stood by the kitchen door. I looked at the happy people. I remembered the boy who washed dishes. I remembered the heavy boxes of money. I remembered the hard work. It was a long journey, but I did it. I am not a dishwasher anymore. I am Chef Marco, and this is my dream come true.